Time. It is Podaholics and the return of GETFIT Radio. Kev Fitzsimmons is here. We're going to be talking fitness. We're going to be talking health. We're going to be talking kids and a whole bunch more. This is the podcast coming to you from the Rove Hotel, downtown Dubai's podcast studio. The Epic Room is what I'm calling it. Kev's here, which means it's time to get into things. Here we go. It's Podaholics. There we go.
Morning. There we go. The intro music sets the tone, doesn't it?
I'm telling you, it makes it
nice.
work, right?
It's
I think
nice.
if you don't have a little theme bed...
It gets me involved. I'm like, yeah, there we go. I'm ready. The dance is about to come out. I've got my own signature dance, the little heartbeat. I show the kids every time. They love it. Well, at least they think they do anyway.
Oh, man. Actually, I got to tell you, I got chewed out a little bit by Dr. Jenna Burton. Because she was going, so are we on Tuesday? I'm going, yeah, Kev's coming in. She goes, what? I had a baby. I couldn't physically come in and do the show. And Kev's now replaced me?
Yeah. The regular now. Part 2, part 3's coming soon.
She was not happy.
We've cut her out, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like me and you, we don't need you no more, Jenna. We've got part 2 on the way. To be honest, I was meant to message her this morning and I forgot, so she's not going to be happy with me.
No, she's going to be going on about it.
She's going to be telling me off and all sorts.
Man.
So yeah. But she's. I spoke to her not long ago. She said she was okay. The baby was good and everything was good. So.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
she's going to be back, actually.
She'll be back next week, knowing her.
Well, yeah.
With the baby and with all the others and everything in tow.
And bringing Florence the dog with her as well. So.
Yes, Florence.
Hey, you're tuned in. You're wondering what you're listening to. It is GetFit Radio. Kev Fitzsimmons joining us. He's from Empire Sports. I mean, that's where he does his day job. But, you do a whole bunch of stuff also in personal training, adults, kids, and everyone else. And that's actually where we wanted to dive in on this show. As I did say, we haven't done a lot of sports shows, fitness shows in a while. We want to bring those back on a bi-monthly basis. Come in and talk about stuff because I think there's so many questions people have about health and fitness and diet and obesity and kids, and the list goes on and on. And I think you check a whole bunch of boxes.
Yeah.
And I think people like tips too, and they're talking about, well, should I be doing high intensity training? Should I be, can I just spot work on my glutes or my abs?
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't kind of work like that. But anyway.
Yes.
And I just think it's a great opportunity to sit down and have a chat with you again.
Yeah. Sounds good. So, I mean, it's the big thing with health and fitness is from week to week, month to month, year to year, there's fads that come and pop up, and people think that the latest fad is, but they always come and go. This is it. There's no coincidence that these come in. They're the best things since sliced bread, and then next minute, a few months down the line, there's something new that comes along. So hopefully I can, any tips I can give about any myths, anything like that's, more sustainable in terms of training, in terms of nutrition, I can help with that. And any questions people have got, they can hit me up, message me privately on the Instagram, KFit's Training, or, even going through you, James, and we can help,
Podaholics with a K at gmail.com, on the James Cast across the media if you want to get in touch with you that way. Yeah, I think that's, send them in. And I always like to say to folks, no question is a bad question.
True, very true.
And we have done a show like this in the past. It's been on a little bit of a vacation, a hiatus, but we used to do a weekly show like this, and we would have questions every week. And some people say, "Well, you must get some of the repeat questions." A different version of them.
And I won't be able to answer everything. Is the question. So if I can't answer it, I'll try and find out and then answer it. That's the best way, to be honest, isn't it? If I don't know, I don't know. Yeah. But I can mostly answer most things. I'd like to think so. I hope.
I want to jump right in with. I mean, you deal over at Empire Sports with under 7s, under 14s. You're dealing with kids.
Yeah.
When you look at what you're doing with training and teams, etc., what's the driving motivation from parents on sending the kids over your way?
I think a big thing is some of them want the kids to be professional footballers.
Yeah. Do the kids want to be professional footballers?
I'd say the majority of them.
All right.
Whether they are is a different story, as we spoke about in the previous one.
And by the way, go back and give that a listen.
Yeah.
In that podcast that I did with Kev, it was really, what an inspirational story, motivational story. It was your story, how you got here, really.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk a lot about fitness.
No, it was more about me. Yeah.
Which was, I mean, incredible, because I think it gives the backstory, which then lends a whole bunch of credibility to what we're doing now. I mean, come on, you work for a football club.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're not talking just a weekend warrior football club. We're talking a legit on the cards football club, and you worked in training and working with, you know, a whole bunch of kids also in sort of, what do you call it, the feeder club or the
so it's so a little bit of experience, professional clubs, working back in the UK, and then obviously full-time role is now as head of S&C and a technical coach as well at Empire Sports. So a little bit of a all-rounded field, and I do a bit of personal training on the side with adults, and as we said, and with the youth as well. So a bit of experience, but not you know, there's still a long way to go, and I'm learning all the time, you know, and as we always say, you know, just like what I went to previously was about just working hard every day, you know, in terms of like, I'm not the most academic, I'm not got the biggest knowledge base in the whole world, but if I don't know something, I'll go and find it out, and I'll work hard every day, and that normally, and I'm quite resilient, I won't give up with things, I'm stubborn.
Well, so this is where I wanted to go back to, you know, parents are bringing the kids. I mean, there's obviously a group of them that are saying, I want my kid to be a footballer. Maybe they stand a chance. We did discuss that it's like 0.1%.
Yes, it's very, very low.
And part of it is there's not a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of teams, but there really isn't a lot of teams when you figure the quality of kids that are out there, and the teams that exist within the geographic area that their catchment that they're going to actually go to. You know, are they going to go to the US or Canada where there's a whole different kind of soccer football situation? I mean, that's what you're dealing with. Probably not. So obviously there's that side. Are there just also parents who are saying, look, I just want my kids moving? I think that's another side of things, is what I was going to go on to, is parents want the kids getting, you know, active. I mean, they finish quite early in the schools here, a little bit earlier probably than in the UK. Well, but they start earlier. But I think, so they've got a long part of the day where they, you know, I think straight away from school, there's that temptation to go and sit on the Xbox, sit on the PlayStation, you know, and do all this kind of stuff. So I do think some parents are thinking, right, let's get him into, you know, some academy football or whatever it may be, straight from school. And a lot of what you find is where I'm located, a lot of the kids come from that location. Okay.
And they'll stay around at the school, and they'll come straight into the academy with us. So we do like extracurriculum stuff during the day, and some of them will actually stay for that. Then they'll go into the academy at say 5 o'clock, so they finish by 4:30, half an hour they just hang about with us, and then they'll start training at 5. So so they're getting that extracurriculum work, they're getting their after school stuff, and parents you know, just want them to be more active, and in terms of whether they're getting enough in PE, questionable. You know,
I mean, you look at this because you obviously see and you interact with folks who are, I mean, your wife's a teacher. So you get a sense of the PE side of things. My gut feeling tells me we don't get enough physical activity at school.
I mean, it's obviously more difficult now in terms of COVID and bubbles and numbers of ratios to kids and what can be done with them. And I believe like often now it's like you set in your set area. So they are doing as much as they can. It's just whether there's enough in the curriculum time assigned to it of whether then guys get enough. Now, a big thing for me is resistance training.
Resistance training?
For kids, yes. 100%.
Resistance
training? Yes.
I've never heard anyone pushing resistance training.
Misconceptions can be massively screwed from things, you know. They're like, so all the literature, all the science, all points to positive development of kids through resistance training. You've got your social benefits, your self-esteem. It's not a thing where you have to go out and run up and down. You can, you know, the kid that's a little bit heavier than the other kids, he can be on the same level. If anything, he might be a little bit stronger. So then that's his chance to get, you know, all right, I'm getting a bit stronger, I'm feeling a bit good about myself. A good way to look at it is if you play sport, when you're playing sport, 5 to 7 times of your body weight are the forces you produce when you're running about, jumping, doing this, that, and the other. So why can't they do resistance training? You know, if that amount of force is going through the body when they're sprinting, changing direction, jumping, everything that they do during the sport, team sports, tennis, they might have to shuffle across, quick change direction. The force through the ground 5 to 7 times right through the body.
Okay.
So if they can do that, then surely they can lift the weight. Right. You know.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to get that into your head.
Yeah. So
and a way to look at it.
When we're talking resistance training, let's dial it back a little second.
Yeah.
What kind of a program? I mean, is there a general resistance training program that you start working on with kids, and then do you get more specialized, or is it just generally speaking, hey, this helps to build core strength, it helps to enhance those strengths from specific moves? So how do you?
So the easiest way is body weight.
Okay.
You start with
so
your
just
body,
pure body weight.
Pure body weight initially. There's a lot of things that come into play. Training age, of experience of fitness and gym stuff and everything. Biologically, their age, which I'll go on to a little bit later. Biologically, you can have the same child that's chronologically the same age, 11, 12 years old. But biologically, they might have a 4 to 5 year difference. Really? So that's another consideration. One might have hit puberty earlier.
Right.
One may be a bit later down the line, and then that
so you got to be thinking about this.
These are all things. These are all things that need to be taken into account, and it's a systematic pathway that you would follow. The best way is you start with the bodyweight stuff in the younger age. I mean, kids from 5, 6 years old, 7, right the way through can be lifting weights. It's just as long as it's delivered in the correct manner, systematically progressed in the right manner as well.
That's the big concern people have, right? When as soon as you mention the word weights in kids, it's like, whoa, bones are developing, ligaments are developing. Are we going to cause a problem? And then
plate growth, is it going to stunt? Is it?
Yeah.
The only things that the literature points to of injuries is ever when there's been an accident. The injuries are acute, so they're not over a long period, and when they're delivered by someone that's not experienced in that field, a dad takes someone down there and push, do this, do that, you know.
We're not talking bench. We're not talking bench pressing. You know, your weight here. We're talking marginal amounts of weight, like repetition and building.
Absolutely, and it's building the foundations and developing on that. So you can start with your bodyweight training, and they're doing things like pushing, pulling, squats, lunges, hinge type movements from the hips, single leg, double leg, jumps, all this kind of stuff. You
know what's happening right now, Kev?
Go on.
Is you got people who are listening to this and going, yeah, that's exactly what I want to get my 10-year-old in. Because I'm now 40, and all of those things that you've just described, lunges, I have trouble with that. Hinge movement, I have trouble with that. Hip movement, my hips are really good. All of those things, if you start doing them and start getting that repetitive motion and start building you mentioned the word, key word, foundation.
Foundations.
Start building the foundations at 10, 12, 14. 40-year-old is going to go, thank you, Kev.
Yeah, and this is it. And it goes back to them kids I'm working with that are not going to be professionals. Right. Or if we can install that long-term activity in them that they take into adulthood, it's been shown that if it's installed at a younger age, it's going to be a habit that's created for the long term. And that's what I massively take away from being in Dubai and doing what I do. Love working with the kids, but I love installing something that they can take away and use later down the line and become an active adult. And when they're 40, when they're 50, when they're 60, they're still able to move up and down hills, put stuff in the top cupboard, reach down. You know, these everyday activities are just easier. And that's what, that's a lot of my passion is with the kids. And even working with adults is like, I've got 2 clients, I think I spoke about them last time, that I keep in contact with them, 172, 161. Oh, man. Every time I go back to the UK, summer and Christmas, we meet up and have a coffee. And this year was it was still great. We socially distanced, we walked down the beach, down the prom where I live. Had a coffee and we caught up, fit as a fiddle.
There you go.
One of them is, she said, like, Kev, everything I do is easier. Putting the plates on the top shelf, moving about. Like, you know, they were with me for 3-4 years and they moved across from one gym to another gym. And it goes back to what we said as well previously, is being good with people and being, you know, being loyal, respecting people. People will follow you over and go with you. But ultimately, training can help you mentally, physically. Everyday activities can come that easier. And then even the kids, as we said, they're inactive and they could be more active. Resistance training could be one that could go into schools. And I do believe over here that there is schools that offer strength and conditioning.
Right.
They have set classes, which is great. UK, not so much, and the gyms aren't great. Another thing is that they have these fixed, isolated machines. So which they just, they have a place, but these are more for bodybuilders. Yeah.
I mean, they look good.
Yeah.
And they're you know, they're great because they got the instructions on the side.
Yeah.
And you know what I always say about those? They're wonderful because it's almost like it's a self-catering unit. So I go and buy this. You know, we used to buy, what did we get? I remember my school back home. We had the Universal Gym. It was called the Universal Gym. It was just a square thing, and you could do some pull downs, and you could push up, and you would go around. There was about 4 or 5 different stations on this thing, the Universal Gym. And that's a brand name. So if you look up Universal Gym, you're going to see this thing.
I'll write that down.
It was epic. But the thing was, it really tied you into, okay, I'm going to do this specific exercise in this specific way. And not that they were, you know, there was a cost attached to them. Whereas probably if I had a set of free weights and maybe a chair and maybe some instructions on, okay, I want you to do lunges, I want you to do squats, I want you to do, you know, jumping jacks and set up a circuit, probably a whole bunch cheaper, and you're probably getting the similar type of exercise.
Definitely. And you know, it's about getting people moving and more functional.
There we go.
That's the word, isn't it? You know, it's functional is the word. Moving, because, you know, they have the place, these fixed machines, but they're more bodybuilders type stuff. And we're talking more, you know, adults than kids in the machines and stuff. But there is machines, fixed weights in schools here that I've seen, and it's like, they'd be better with an open space. And a load of squat racks, pull-up bars, and that would be so much better than all these wasted machines that are big, clumpy, take up loads of space, and they're not really of much use in comparison to the other type of stuff, you know. So that's a big one. In terms of how we would work with the kids.
Well, that was my question. I was okay. So I've got 2 questions tied to that. Okay. So one, I'm curious, what exactly kind of a program do you kind of set up? And 2, does this then become a really easy program? You say, okay, we do this 15 minutes all the time. Kids get used to it. We add in or we mix up the order of things, but it becomes that really much a routine. It's very much a routine that they follow.
Well, yeah, I mean, working with the academy, we'll do in the gym. We'll be in the gym 1 or 2 times a week, depending on availability and what we can do with them. You would start with the younger guys. Well, the older guys, it depends, it goes back to experience, training age.
Like, do you find the older guys, because they've gone through the younger guys stuff, just do it themselves? They'll okay, we got 15 minutes before Kev's coming out. I'm going to do my warm-up.
Yeah. So the kids later down the line who've got that experience with me go straight into it. So it's much easier to manage. The younger guys, it's harder to deal with. And I'm not saying, when I say 5-6-year-olds, yes, they can do strength training. Yes, they can do weights. Yes, the science doesn't
within reason.
Within reason.
Or they're not being Arnold Schwarzenegger here.
Yes. And they need to be emotionally involved in it, because
which is where you come in, because you're...
Yeah, they need to be emotionally mature enough to take on instruction. Because if they're not, they might be a 5-6-year-old, but they're not able to listen. So then we're gonna have to manage things. But in terms of the younger guys, you're probably looking at more like bodyweight stuff. And you can get the strength stuff through fun games of types of like, it can be, you know, plank exercises in partners, you know.
I like to see that, like 5 and 6-year-olds doing
little slaps with each other, high fives, you know, from there. There's a lot of games and fundamental ways you can involve it into the exercise. If we're going to follow a set program, we can do it bodyweight stuff. Then we can start to add in resistance bands, medicine balls.
What are you doing with the medicine balls?
Medicine balls, core work, overhead slams. The focus for the little guys will be more focusing on the shoulder and the rotator cuff.
Okay.
These joints, because they're very susceptible to injuries.
The kids must love doing that kind of stuff.
But this is it. It's making it fun for them as well, engaging them inside it. Because if they're not engaged, they're not gonna want to know. You know, but they love the gym. Yeah. And it's something different, into different environments, and it's picking up things, throwing it about. You know, they can have loads of fun with it. So,
and again, it's functional. So they're picking up these things, and if they're emotionally ready for it, great. We can play with that. And they're not picking up the 20 kg medicine ball. They're picking up the one that's appropriate for their weight.
And before they go into adolescence, so childhood is typically, you would name it as middle childhood, from 5 years to puberty, which for boys is normally 12 to 13. Yeah. Girls normally a bit earlier, 11 years old. So that childhood point, body weight, it might be running and jumping over things and climbing over and hopping over things and jumping over hurdles and, you know, climbing, crawling through stuff, bear crawls and loads of fun type of stuff. Which again, that's going to engage them.
Using your body weight, so you're pulling yourself, so it's that really specific action.
If they're in groups, I've found that it's easier to do that sort of stuff.
Really? But why group? Why do you think?
As an individual, and if you're working with them and the mum's brought them, they're going to do whatever you tell you to do. Okay. If you're working as a group, it's very difficult to go, right, boys, you're going to do 10 squats, 10 lunges, and keep them in the set places and follow and they'll lose track of everything. It's very difficult to manage. So for the little ones to implement the strength stuff, you're trying to focus. You might do a little circuit set up with running, jumping, climbing stuff, jumping over hurdles and crawling, bear crawling up and down, and the focus would be on the shoulders, the lower back to develop the core, and trying to build the core up a little bit, you know. And then we would, as they get older and more experience in the gym, we can start being a little bit more. They might follow a set body weight program. Then it might be into resistance bands. We get the resistance, so there's added load into it.
At what age do you typically find resistance bands get offered in?
Well, they can go in as depending on how the skill and expertise of the kid. So if the kid picks up, you know, the child picks up that strength exercise and it's too easy for them, we overload and we just progress it in. Okay. It doesn't have to be like, okay,
you've reached that point.
Okay, you've got to keep body weight until this. Yeah. You know, they can start doing lifting the dumbbells, lifting the weight, even 6, 7 years old, 8 years old. It's just got to be done in the right way. Yeah. And that's what I'll always point back to. Do not just take your kid in and just get him doing deadlifts and squats and stuff. It has to be taught to them in the correct way, because it's a skill. It's a skill. Weightlifting or resistance training. Weightlifting is more like power exercises and clean and jerks and power. Resistance training's a little bit different, but we're working on with the big bars and we're doing deadlifts, we're doing squats and we're doing things. And it might be, they go body weight, they go resistance bands, they go medicine balls. Then it could be a load, where an extra load would be a kettlebell or a dumbbell, and they're using the dumbbells and they're going into a squat position and they're going down.
So it's a really nice progression for them too, because they start to notice, hey, I'm getting stronger. This is getting easier for me. And then you add in, you know, we're going to add in a kg. Yeah. And suddenly it's like, wow, this is kind of cool. And
it's progressive overload. So the body adapts to everything that the body puts onto it. You start off at a base level. You have a natural strength kinetically or wherever, you know, and you can build that through training. Now, if the body gets an adaptation stuck onto it, it will stay at the same. It will adapt to it, and then it'll adapt to deal with that stimulus. So then to progress, you need to naturally overload, whether that's heavier, whether that's less recovery time, whether that's a slower velocity, whether
this is another thing when we talk about overloading. Instantly, my mind only goes to heavier.
Absolutely.
And I'm not thinking, as you just stated.
Intensity, volume, recovery periods, these can all
be the recovery. You know, instead of 20 seconds recovery, I'm going to give you 5 seconds recovery. And I haven't changed anything. In fact, the bell just went on because I remember doing a fitness class and I was overloading a little bit the bar. And the coach came over and said, dude, He's like, take off.
Take it off.
And I'm going, come on, I can do it. And he
Yeah.
goes, no. Take it off because you've got 40 reps of this to do. And I'm going to be taking away time. So you're already going to, it's easy now. It's not going to be easy in 10 minutes.
Yes.
And they were so right. But the other thing, and I want to get your take on this a little bit, is when I think of kids working with the bands, working with, the squats or things, their physical form of doing those exercises has got to be really important. It's important for adults. Do you find kids are better at maintaining the proper form when you say, okay, you're going down, keep your back a little more straight? Because I know that, the way you're doing it helps to reduce injury later on and stuff.
Yes, correct.
And I notice a lot of adults, because they've been doing, the postures are horrible, because they've been doing lifts or things for 25 years of their life incorrectly, they can't get in quickly to the proper way. Do you find kids are a whole different ballgame?
Well, yes, and I would say no, because
same then.
In some ways the kids are learning to develop these positions. So it may be easier to change something with a kid than it is with an adult who's reinforced bad movement patterns over years and years and years. So it may be easier in some ways, but in terms of how they are with holding the posture, it may be that they're both not at the greatest level, but it's educating the first bit, and the second bit is then working on addressing the issue that's causing this bad movement pattern. So for the kids, see, it's two different things. Well, you may be that over years they've been doing the wrong technique in the older guys. So a lot of things that you find, everyday activities are push.
Right.
So the chest tightens up, the back muscles are weaker, and you ended up with that rounded back. So then it becomes a lot of pull work, and then loosening up the chest, and then you get that balanced out of the push and the pull. A lot of people go in the gym and do all chest, bench press, don't do anything on the posterior, which is massively important. So you need to fix movement patterns. For the younger kids, it's developing, strength in the back or the chest, educating them on the correct path, techniques, the correct muscle groups that they need to work on to keep the posture. So I'd say that both of them both of them sort of need that addressing, but the guys later down the line might just have been reinforced over time and years and doing the bad movement pattern, so it's probably a little bit more difficult to get them into that correct movement technique and pattern. So, so the younger guys, education and posture development, and that's something again that you'd work on, and working, as I said, with the core, the shoulders, and developing them set areas that are the lower back and the areas that are susceptible to an injury, but you're building the foundations, going back again, and then you build on top of that. Resistance can be added progressively, systematically in the correct manner, and also other things to consider is the velocity of how they move, how fast they are with it. You need to take into account recovery periods, how often they're training. Do they train consecutive days? Non-consecutive is recommended for the little guys. So the younger kids is that non-consecutive days give the body a rest. Also, how
much rest do you recommend? Is this
I would say if they could do 2 strength sessions a week, full body, that work, and it's been shown that it needs to be kept going week after week, year after year, and keeps
That's a challenge.
It's a part of your lifestyle. So it may be that you swap swimming for your strength training. It's going to make him, can they swap it? I would say, what I always read is, don't put it on top of things. Use it as a replacement for one thing or another.
So how do you get the parents into that?
Well,
mindset?
this is it, because
they're going, oh, well, look, I got Sunday, I've got them swimming. Monday, I've got them doing football. Tuesday, I've got them doing some strength training. Wednesday, I've got them doing badminton. Thursday, I've got them doing, I know Kudra on the bike track. Friday, we have some kind of a meet thing. Saturday's off.
So it's difficult. It's difficult, but for me, it's prioritizing the time and it depends where they want to go with their lives. If they're serious about sport, I would say you definitely need to have some strength training in there strength, power work, development, movement literacies, agility. You know, all these kinds of stuff. Movement, that's it.
That's a nice.
It's lovely, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I saved that. Wrote that down there. There's a special word mentioned. Physical movement literacies. Yeah.
See, that's why everyone heads over to Empire Sports with Kev Fitzsimmons.
Yeah. That's it. 100%.
Movement literacies. That's
big words.
You just sold everyone.
Yeah. Mention was on there. It was mentioned that. So it's implementing it as we go back to the right way, right persons that's educated enough to implement it. Yeah. Non-consecutive days, you know, it might be you do it 2 times a week, but only 30 minutes of it.
Right.
30 minutes of it. Bodyweight stuff.
That's not a lot. 30 minutes. That's manageable.
Easy. Yeah. You know, and then you just work through from bodyweight to to dumbbells. Bodyweight to resistance bands to medicine balls and dumbbells and barbells, the big ones, and it's done in a systematic way. So I'm not saying go away and just go straight away, right, we're going to do strength training, me and you. Yeah. But, you know, there is things online where you can just think, what does he actually need to work on? Okay, right, jump onto a box. Yeah. There we go, 3 times, 2 sets, perfect. Bodyweight squats, okay. Is he new to it? Or is he holding his posture very well? We might only do 3 reps, but give a lot of feedback and slow it down and do 1 or 2 sets, 1 or 2 sets. Or is it too easy for him that he needs to add in extra reps? So we do higher reps, 10 to 12, 1, 2 sets. Okay, he needs to squat, he needs to lunge, he needs to push, he needs to pull. These are all type of movements. You can do push-ups, you can do pull-ups, you can do a pull-up on a bar at the top, or you can find a bike rack, hop himself under, hold onto it and pull himself up.
There we go.
You know, it's just using your mind, using your imagination to think of ways. He's pushing, he's pulling. How does he lunge? Walk up and down a corridor. You know, things like this, just do 10 reps 2 times, 1 time. See how he feels. Slow things down or speed things up, depending on what his posture, what his control is, what his movement for. Obviously, it's going to be, if you're not as experienced in the strength world, then you're not going to be as much what you're looking for. So that's where you can tap into me. you can, you know, there's plenty of things online where people will, you know, just and even if people want to come to me and ask for advice on training with kids and, you know, basic programs or things that I think would work and things that don't, they can always contact me.
Well, and this is always my way, right? Like I'm a big online person. I love going online. Before the show came on, we were talking yoga with Adrian. Look, I love all these things. The thing you miss though by doing your online training stuff, and there's apps too. You know, there's tons of them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's
and
plenty of apps and stuff, but you just got to be mindful if it's for the kids that they don't download something that's for adults.
Well,
and that's another thing.
Download it for the adults. Even the stuff for kids that are there, and me as the adult saying, I'm going to help my child. Look, I played football when I was 12. I know what's going on. I went to high school. We had PE every other day. I'm in the know. When you start downloading this stuff, it's the small things. You know, are we going down too far? Is the knee extended too far? Is the body curled over a little bit? Is it am I extending too much? Am I overloading? Is there too much of a that's where you come in, and you don't get that. Yeah. So I love the idea of what you just said. I think again, Kev nails it, right? Is as a parent, what do you want to do? You want to get your child doing this movement. You want to get them into a positive mindset now so they carry it through to when they're 60 and they're those 60-year-old ladies so that they're doing stuff great. But you want to make sure if you're downloading that stuff online that you can go and have a chat with someone and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Do you think, am I missing anything? Yeah. And having that opportunity to have that conversation where people are often going, it's going to cost me a little bit, but that's the investment and it's worth it.
It is.
Because you get it right, as opposed to doing the thing wrong and then leading to, I've got
injuries later down the line, movement patterns completely wrong, tightness in certain areas, as you said, leads on to injuries, posture, how it's held, all this sort of thing can come from it. So really, like, it's a massive part. It's a massive part of life and how importance it can have in that long run, and big things like in terms of training. What drives me mad is when people get people doing sit-ups And it's...
Well, hey, okay, I got a question because I remember, I'm going back, and this is the problem all we parents have, right? Because my parent, I'm a parent,
Yeah.
I've got my kids, and I'm going back to, I remember when I was that age. Do I really remember when I was that age?
Yeah.
I remember.
You doing sit-ups back then?
Oh yeah, we were doing sit-ups, but the full thing, right?
Yeah.
You're back and you're full extension, and then coming right up and curling right up to the knees, touching my head to my knees, full the way back. And I'm doing like 50 of those, right?
Yeah.
And then
abs in bits. I mean, it does work the abs. It that does definitely.
Lower back is a shambles after that.
That's it. So it's all flexion through the spine. It's not really what happens
now
when
it's all like these crunches. Everyone's saying, you don't need to come up full weight. You just need to come up a bit. You're crunching, you're holding, and you're going back.
Yeah, even them. The best thing they can do is hold planks, resistant band holds, dead bugs lying on the back, leg raisers. These kind of things are more effective.
Really?
Yeah, well, much better.
Much better than the old traditional sit-up?
Oh, much better. The spine goes into...
You're saying we don't need to be doing sit-ups?
Get rid of them. Get rid of them. They're gone. The old hats, James. Get rid. There's
a collective...
Yeah. That's it, isn't it? Who's this guy? Who is he? He's changing the world. He thinks he knows everything. But in terms of core... What you have, especially
when we hear the word core, what a whole bunch
it's made up of a whole host of things. People think core is just the abdominal area, but it's not. It's lower back, the hips. All this comes into that's core. That's core. So you need to work on glutes. You need to work on the hips. You need to work on the lower back. You do need to work on the abdominal area. But what you'll find is when you're doing these the spinal flexion is the back just rounds.
Right.
So. But when do we really do that in like exercise, and when do we do that in sport? And I see people doing sit-ups and they say S&C and they're doing sit-ups, as I went back to last time. I won't go down that avenue again. But in terms of like, they would be much better off, because what happens is when you're running, your core contracts, and if you're rotating, if your core's stronger, it will stay fixed.
Gotcha.
When you're running, you'll have your core contracting, and you want to keep it nice and streamlined, arms, so the joints are moving around it, at the hip joint, at the shoulder joint, but the core staying fixed. Right. Now, if it's rotating,
that's me.
You're losing force from the floor that's developed, ground forces, you're losing power, and you're losing speed. So the stronger the core, so basically all the core is doing, the abdominals around the core area, is it's contracting and isolating and holding in position. So this is why it's good to do planks, holding bands from the side where it's attached to a wall and you're holding it in position, because it will move as well. There is times where you need to, but it's trying to keep it isolated and contracted and keep joints still around it as we're moving and things like this. So that will be more effective in terms of developing the core and holding it in position. Even things like deadlifts and glute bridges and these type of exercises will work on your core, because they're working on your hips, they're working on your glutes.
What's a glute bridge?
Glute bridge is lying on the floor, lying down, bend your knees, extend your hips up to the sky, and come back down.
I mean, I'm listening to this. Planking. I mean, this is the easiest exercise in the world. You're waiting for someone to come and pick you up, and you're outside, go into a plank for a minute.
Yeah.
You probably can't hold it for more than a minute anyway, so maybe you can do it for 3.
If
you get 7 minutes out of a plank without shaking to death, you're really good.
You're doing well if you're doing 7 minutes. You're doing well. But this is it. It's about...
And then glute bridge, like you just spoke about. I mean, you could do that anywhere. I'm waiting for my mom and dad to drop me off at school this morning, and we're just sitting outside, and they're getting their coffee. Do a little glute bridge for 30 seconds. Boom. Do a plank for 30 seconds.
And
okay.
That's another thing, is like being like savvy and thinking about how can I move more through the day. Can I park at the other side of the car park and walk across? Can I take the stairs instead of, and this is more probably adult we're talking when we're focusing on this. Can you park the car further away, burn more calories?
Even at school, park the car further away when you're dropping off the kids.
There you go.
Let's walk 500 meters.
And then they both get the benefits, don't they?
Because the adults need it too. And hey, what if halfway you stop and you do a little squat?
Yeah, that's it. Or walk in the squat the whole way, and then let's see how your legs feel after that. They will be on fire. But that's what, so in terms of that core development, get rid of your sit-ups, do your planks, your reverse planks, you're working front, back, get your side planks, you got the whole of this abdominal region working, you're holding it, isolating, you're keeping it contracted.
I usually start shaking.
Yeah,
you know, I get that shake going. It's like, and it starts to burn.
Yes.
I don't know if I can hold this any longer.
So yeah, that's what I would recommend in terms of that, and full-bodied and fully implemented into a program, systematically developed and done in the right way.
Do you find you end up with some conflict between yourself and the PE guys at schools where these kids are obviously going, or do you find you're complimenting? You don't find the kids come back to say, well, my PE teacher says to do this and you're saying to do that?
I found last year where there was a couple of things that I was thinking, okay, not so sure in terms, but for the majority of it, it's mostly positive, you know, and if anything, sometimes I'm thinking, well, at least they're trying to get them in and create the right habits and behaviours, you know, and I'd like to think that they have a common sense enough not to go in and go, right, do a squat with 100 kg on the bar and break them in half, you know. So I'd like to think that they, you know, but in terms of conflict, no, I would never say I've had anything like that.
That's good.
And I've been into schools before. I went to Gems Wellington up in Silicon Oasis, and I delivered a presentation to a friend of mine's a PE teacher there. And he asked me to come in and give a bit of an oversight into strength and conditioning for kids, for youth, and the benefits. And I just spoke about that and did half an hour, 45-minute presentation, and then 15-minute little bit of physical interacting with and just showed them some of the drills they can do and stuff like that. So that's another thing. Like, I'm happy to maybe go into schools, speak to people and talk and educate teachers and speak to parents or wherever it may be. And I know later down the line when things open up, we can potentially look at Empire to try and create workshops or presentations where we talk about nutrition, we talk about exercise, benefits of strength work, developments and how it underpins everything, and a change in directions, agility and power, it all derives from strength work as well.
I mean, because in a sense, where I was coming with all this was you're really coming at a nice micro. I mean, you're looking at the macro picture, but strength and endurance is a pretty micro area.
Yes.
And I love the idea of having that workshop for some parents who are looking at their kids saying, because what do I want as a parent? I want the opportunity that, hey, maybe my kid's going to be a footballer, maybe they're going to be a hockey player, maybe they're going to be a rugby player. Let's at least make sure they have the opportunity to have an opportunity for that.
Give them everything they can to achieve that.
And if I can start by getting my mind sort of put straight on, okay, well, what's going on right now, and what do I need to look for? And hey, there's a workshop, there's an opportunity for me to do this.
Absolutely.
That would be great. I mean, I'd be first in line.
Yeah. So, I mean, another thing is working on the fundamental skills as well, and not being too sport specific with stuff. Like a lot of parents will just get the kid playing, and I'm a big advocate of multi-sports as well. Right. A lot of kids will go only play football. Right. And what they'll do is they'll be probably the talent, they may have a lot of talent and be the best player at 7, 8 years old, but they don't develop different pathways of how to move, which other sports will help you with. Tennis, swimming, hockey, rugby, all these type of sports, multi-sports will help with their overall physical literacies, their movement patterns of how they move, their neural pathways of turning, reactions, decision making will all be developed from playing them multi-sports.
See, that's the other side that we constantly forget. These neural pathways, decision making. So it's not just remembering, I got to curl like that.
With this issue.
But we got to make some decisions. And am I making some decisions when I'm under the stress? My body's under the stress of trying to maneuver. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Absolutely.
Whole other thing.
So these multi-sports they'll implement it and they'll develop overall as an athlete. Yeah. And what there's been studies shown where they've had a guy that's played football all their life. Yeah. By the time he gets to 16, 17, 18, he's been the better player earlier on in life, but he's burnt out and he's peaked at 16, 17, 18, and he's not really gone into professional sport. The other side of things is they've had the multi-sport athlete, that's played football, not been the best player, but then as he's gone on, he's developed and peaked 25, 26, and then they've become, they've been well-rounded athletes, and it's helped to benefit them in the long run, and then they've had that career in professional sport. So there's that kind of things where the multi-sport would, it depends on the sport as well. If it's football, you're probably looking at 13, 14, where they become more specific to the sport, and it slowly becomes, even maybe a little bit later, 15 will probably be, 14, 15 probably is a better age, where they start to then focus football, and that's their only sport they're going to be, if they're serious about it, that is. Right. If they want a career in it, that's where. But up until that point, I always speak to the parents and like, do you think you should do this? Do you think you should that? Yes, get him out, do as many sports as he can. You know,
the parents are going, oh, I got to drive again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
thank you, Kev.
They're going to live to hate me, aren't they, really? But in terms of like multi-sport and doing different things, I'm a total big advocate for it. Big advocate. And as they get older, the other sports, that sport that they want to pursue a career in becomes the priority. And then they, you know, shield into that. And then everyone becomes more sport specific. And they focus on that and different types of movement that are applicable to that sport, you know. So yeah, it's good. It's interesting.
How do people get a hold of you over at Empire? What's the contact?
Empire Sports UAE.
Okay, Empire Sports UAE.
Yeah, that's their Instagram handle. Great academy, great guys, great coaches, great atmosphere down there. We've got a massive girls program. We've got kids going from under 7s up to under 14s. We do holiday camps, where we'll be based in All Star. On Sakim Road, and we also are, funny enough, I'm looking to implement a athletic development camp during that week, where we're going to offer it for free for our players. Wow. To kind of educate them, because I'm new to this academy. We're going to use it as a time to bring people in, educate them on what I do, what the benefits will be for them, and how we can help develop them as footballers, you know. But also, if people want to reach out and want to come along, I'm happy to let people, maybe a small group, come along for free and get involved, if the demand's there. So, you know, if that'll be in 2 weeks' time, and whether we're up and running by then, no problem. But if anyone's interested that's age from 12 up to 16, and you're interested in an athletic development day, which will be a little bit of on-field work, movement type stuff, agility, speed work, bit of education on that. We're going to go into in the afternoon, we're going to do a seminar on nutrition, and the benefits of strength and conditioning, how to maintain your body and look after yourself from day to day, and then we're going to do a gym session in the afternoon. So I will do that for free, and if people are interested, I'll be doing that with our own kids and with a couple from the school that we're going to be doing it out of, which will be Jebel Ali School in Damac Hills. Okay. And if there's anyone that's interested, and from what I've been saying, and they want to bring them along, their children, contact me at Instagram, as I said, Kev Fitz Training, or at Empire Sports UAE, and we'll get you involved and we can get you booked in and down.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I look forward to getting you back in here again. And you know what? I really wanted to head it down the avenue of diet, mentoring.
Yes.
Mentoring and diet.
Yes.
And again, we're talking kids, but of course adults are a big piece of this too. And if folks are listening, they're saying, yeah, it sounds great for my kids. What about me?
Yeah. Absolutely. And nutrition's a big thing. And something I had wrote down was, you know, there's a lot of fads are the big thing. Yeah. A lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon now where everything's protein. Cereals with proteins. But what they don't tell you is that they're high in sugar. There's 20 grams of sugar in one serving. You know, so people are being easily misled by what you see on the carton, and people just pick it up and go, yeah, protein, low fat. Yeah. Well, how much sugar's in it? Right. You know, yogurt's low fat. That's good for you. I'm having a low fat skinny latte. I'm having a skinny latte. Well, you know what? You're probably better with a higher fat, because the fats are probably better for you. But it's the sugars that are the issue. So there's all this type of.
We're gonna have the chat.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We can go down that route and go from there.
You know, Kev, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you,
GetFit Radio's back. Great to have the conversation.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll do it all again real soon. you want to get in touch, podholicswithk@gmail.com. We're coming to you from the podcast studio at the Rove Hotel downtown Dubai. You got any questions, queries, comments? Fire them through. Keep sharing the link. You know where we are on the socials, Podholics with a K. Thanks a lot for listening. So long for now.
Thank you. Bye.